It's time for Dart Talk. Brought to you by TheDartZone.com. Stay in the zone. TheDartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor and Windy City Fabricators, America's premier fabricators of orthotics and prosthetics. And Redwood Darts, America's newest tungsten darts. Stand straight and tall and hit them all. Redwood Darts. And now, here are your hosts, Mystery Mark and Steve P.
Okay. This is going to be interesting.
Your head is very high.
Oh, dear. I have to scrunch down. We had a little tripod problem.
Yes, I don't know what happened there.
Welcome to Dart Talk on Baseball. Is that what we're calling it?
I think so. Welcome,
awesome.
Welcome
you
to
wanted to go live,
Problems
too.
with Video.
We need an engineer. So, Steve and Mark here. We're going to talk
Dart
baseball.
Talk on baseball.
Dart Talk on baseball. What do you think?
Or is it baseball on Dart Talk?
Yeah, I don't know. You pick. Nice shirt.
Baseball on Dart Talk would make more sense to me, but who knows?
So, okay, right off the bat, you're bona fides as a Sox fan, because you are obviously. You're a Sox fan. Yeah, like, why are you qualified as a Sox fan to talk about the Sox? I mean, like, what's your baseball background?
I never said I was qualified. No.
Let's for the sake of argument, pretend that you are, and then tell people why.
Well, I've been rooting for them all my life. I follow them. I mean, I don't follow them as closely as you follow the Cubs, but they're my team, and I pay attention to them more than anybody else.
But I mean, you're mostly gambling on baseball all the time.
Baseball's my favorite sport.
Right, and you've been playing it for how many decades? Not to give away your age, but
yeah. Well, I used to play it for many decades. I don't play it anymore. But
my bona fides are basically, I've wallowed in the misery for 45 years. I've been a Cubs fan, following the Cubs, almost exclusively the Cubs. I don't really follow any other teams. I kind of used to follow the really good teams, like the Yankees of the late 70s. I like watching them. The good Yankee teams that Girardi had, I like those. Even when they got A-Rod, it was all right. But I'm a Cubs fan, a season ticket holder.
Right.
And I thought it'd be interesting, just a little change of pace for us to talk about baseball. Because we talk about it all the time anyway. We talk about it driving, to and from the show.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, let's see what happens if we actually did a show on baseball. So here we are.
So let's see what happens.
And the Cubs are playing the Sox, and
soon,
next week. And
you thought it was next week. Well, it is next week now.
Yes, next
you
week.
Thought it was this weekend, but
yeah.
It's actually next week.
So obviously, I'm having scheduling difficulties.
We might actually have to wear these jerseys again next show, because then it's the following Friday that they play.
Right, and we'll do a little build up. So we'll kind of like take each team's pulse and where you think they are like right now. And to be honest with you, the Sox.
Plus, this could be interesting. This could be, since it's our first baseball show, there actually might be a no-hitter thrown tonight.
Well, you keep monitoring that. That'll give you an excuse not to listen to anything I say.
What?
So anyway, where are the Sox right now? I mean,
they're in St. Louis.
Right, and they were in a rain delay last week. Checked, but the state of your team is what?
They're in a state of disarray, is where they are. They're like, well, they won yesterday. I believe they're 9 games under 500.
Yeah, sail through.
Another gem.
Yeah, another gem.
Didn't get the win.
Useless record.
The only team he can't beat is the Minnesota Twins. He's lost 3 games this year to them and gives up 8 runs a game. And everybody else he dominates.
I don't understand.
It's unbelievable.
You guys have been losing to the Twins for years, and not good Twins teams. I don't really get that.
No.
We have a problem. The Cubs have a problem with Milwaukee. It seems like when they should beat them, they don't.
The interesting thing about it, though, is as you watch a team long enough, it seems like, whether they're playing bad or good, the tendencies, keep adding up over the years. Like, the White Sox had bases loaded, nobody out yesterday, and didn't score. And to me, they've been doing this for years. because they've been an unsuccessful hitting team, so it seems like all the time they do this. So literally after the guy grounds into a double play to end the inning, Harrelson yesterday says, we have to lead the decade in not scoring with the bases loaded, nobody out. And, that's what obviously, who knows, but it's just amazing. You watch the Cubs and you talk about how your batters are getting hosed on the balls and strikes.
Oh, yeah.
But
the umps have been a disaster this year.
But literally, you could talk to somebody in San Francisco and they could be telling you the same thing. You just don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I look at the strike zone changing. I don't know. I don't understand how the plate could get wider when a certain batter's at the plate. That's what I don't understand. And it's been going on all year, and I've never seen a batter. And to his credit, he hasn't really complained. Jorge Soler, who's should be coming off the DL in a few days, and it's like he knows his strike zone. And what do you want the guys to do if you're going to call balls strikes and take the bat out of your hand? We're going to have to do what Mike Napoli does: just drop the bat, and walk away.
It's part of baseball, though, because I like the human error aspect of baseball.
You like it.
I do.
I would prefer that they actually just get the call right. I have no problem with that.
Well, but that brings up so much stupid. I mean, the instant replay is supposed to get the call right, but then there's restrictions on when you can use instant replay. I mean, because they don't want to make the game 4 hours, so you can only do it now and you can only do it then. They had a play the other day in some game where there was a pop fly behind home plate and the catcher caught the ball and he turns around to throw. A runner's on second base, and he turns around to see if the guy's going to go, and he drops the ball. And the umpire called it no catch.
Was he transferring it?
Well, according I was listening to it on the radio.
That's a complicated rule.
I was listening on the radio. So he was transferring it. So these announcers are saying that, well, it's transfer rule, and even though technically the transfer rule is not involved anymore, but it was a catch, he turns around, he drops the ball. So he had it in his glove. Apparently, when they did not overturn it and they went with the umpire's decision that it wasn't a catch, you can only make that call if the ball is in play, not if it's in foul territory.
Oh.
I mean,
you can only review it, you mean?
Yes.
Oh.
Well, no, they reviewed it. They reviewed it, but the call can't be changed because it has to be a ball in play and not in foul territory.
Well, why did they review it then?
Well, because
were they not supposed to review it?
They were supposed to review it. The rule is that you can't overturn it on a play. These are the things that don't make sense. You want to get all the calls right, and they have goofy rules like this, is my point. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, I would prefer home plate umpires actually call balls and strikes and call them accurately. And there's a couple of guys that have been really, really, really bad at it. Joe West is horrible. Andy Fletcher, horrible. Inconsistent, the home plate umpires have a rough job, I get it. And all the ball players should kind of know if the catcher's here and the umpire's on one side of him, he's going to give you more on that side of the plate. So the hitters ought to be able to expect that, But if you the way they're doing it now is it's like if you hit the glove, it's a strike, no matter where the glove is. I don't get that. It's like the Tom Glavine days where, you don't have to throw any strikes at all are over, but our guys are getting jobbed.
Yeah, I don't understand that. Yeah, I've never understood the strike zone because some umpires call it as it crosses the plate and some umpires call it when it hits the glove. Well, what's the rule is where it crosses the plate.
Yeah, but it's hard to see. I mean, it's hard to see where it crosses the plate. And I've umped like some, Little League games and stuff like that, 17, 18-year-olds who throw pretty hard. And it's hard. I mean, I wish they could come up with some way technology would help them on this. I think that'd be better. I don't know quite.
Well, I guess it's possible.
You're telling me like the K-zone thing doesn't change for every hitter. Well, then
I'm
it's
not exactly
a very
sure
limited.
That's what I believe, though. But
well, then it's a very limited use for high and low. But the plate doesn't get wider if Jorge Soler's at the plate.
Exactly.
You don't get an extra 4 inches outside. I don't understand that. And it's been like whole crews doing it. And it's always him, and he just he's hitting 280.
That's my point, though. Is you only watch the Cubs. It happens all the time. I mean, you think only the Cubs are getting jobbed.
Well,
but really, I mean, it's just that's the part of baseball. It happens. I mean, I saw a ball called on the K zone, and the whole round ball was, not even close to the line, and it was called a strike. So I mean, these umpires do it. I don't get it. I don't know how you change it.
I don't know. I mean,
they have lasers in tennis where they can they can serve
the ball
exactly
where the ball
120 miles an hour, and they can determine whether they hit the line or not.
I guarantee you could get technology and take away balls and strikes from the home plate umpire, and just have him there in case there's a play at the plate or something. He'd be like another base.
I'm still not for that.
Yeah, well, you got to move on. I mean, but there's changes in the game. I mean,
right, but all the changes aren't necessarily for the good.
Okay, well, we're going to take a break, and then you come back and explain to me why you're against bunting with 2 guys on and nobody out.
I'm not against that. You're
not?
No.
Okay. I believe we had a discussion where you were yelling at me that you shouldn't do that. What? We were sitting at a Sox game.
Okay.
All right.
I'm all for bunting.
All right, we'll take a break. We're going to come back. We're going to compare the Cubs and the Sox and see why the Cubs are vastly superior in every way, shape, and form to the White Sox. Okay. Dart Talk on Baseball. We'll be back in a minute. Okay, back for the second inning of Dart Talk on Baseball.
Are we having 9?
We better not. I don't think I could last that long.
So, yeah, right now we have we're disclaiming everything we say. That's our disclaimer.
That's our disclaimer, yeah. We can't use the standard stuff we normally do. I don't know. Are the White Sox the most boring team in baseball right now? Or is it just my perception?
It's just your perception.
Okay. Everything about the White Sox bores me.
Okay.
The uniforms are boring. The players give boring interviews. The park is boring. It's in a boring part of town. I just...
All right, whatever.
I don't know. I've always thought of the White Sox like that. But I like the 83. You should have wore the 83 jersey.
Yeah.
I like the Sox that year. 83 was good. And the year that they didn't win it. That was a great team. The rest of them, I could do without them. So, position by position, why are the Cubs vastly superior? Who's your left fielder? You got some guy in the offseason was supposed to be God's gift to hitting. Is that Cabrera playing left for you?
Melky Cabrera, Cabrera plays left.
And how would you assess his 2015 performance to date? How disappointed are you, like scale from 1 to 10? You're looking at the numbers
I guess
there.
I'd say a 5.
So you give him like a C?
Yeah, it's the whole team. The whole team just doesn't hit with runners in scoring position, and he's one of the reasons they brought him. they brought him here was, to do that, and they don't.
I don't know. I read something, like if you go to the Sabermetrics website, I doodled around on that, from time to time. There are people that, and I think they're mathematicians, they argue that there's no such thing as clutch hitting. That, you're just going to hit whatever your average is. And they argue it's almost coincidental whether or not there are guys on base. You look at the Cardinals, what was it, like 2 or 3 years ago, their team hit 350.
Yeah, it was something ridiculous.
I mean,
with runners in scoring
you're
position.
telling me that was all luck or accident?
No.
I don't think so. There's a reason Alfonso Soriano batted cleanup for us a few years ago, and after 2 months of the season, he had like 1 RBI.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how is that even possible? You're just not good with runners on base, dude. That's your deal. Your deal is you can't hit with guys on base. We got a left fielder, Coughlin, who makes probably as much contact with the baseball as anybody on the team. He doesn't have as much power as like Rizzo or something like that, but he doesn't drive in runs. He's got less RBIs, and he's played every single game. So how many games have we played so far? I don't know, 60-some, almost 70 games.
Probably.
Almost 70 games. The guy doesn't have
Has
20
to be more than
RBI.
that. Has to be more like 90 or 80. They have to be,
what are we, like 39 and 30 is about 70? No, we're right around 70, 71.
Isn't the All-Star game always like 12 games after the 5, the
81st game?
81 game?
Yeah. I lost count. I think we're like around 75 games. You can check that in the chat room. Hi, everybody in the chat room, by the way. Hope you're having a good time. Yeah, I don't understand the thing with Coughlin, but when there's guys on base, he's squeezing a little too tight, and, sometimes, I think, there's an element of luck. Like, the Cardinals. This guy on the Cardinals just killed me. Tight game, late innings. Guy hits a sharp 2-hopper right off the side of the mound. It goes by the pitcher. The second baseman and the shortstop are both around second base to field. It hits the bag. So the guy's safe at first. And he's strutting around first base like he just hit a grand slam, like, I'm so awesome. And I'm like, dude, you were lucky. And your whole team is lucky. Let me tell you something. The Cardinals aren't going to win it. That's the luckiest team I've seen since 05.
All right.
05, I saw a real lucky team where every single break all season went their way. Like the 03 Bears, where Mike Brown's running interceptions back and stuff. They just fall into his arms in overtime, and he runs them in for a touchdown like 2 games in a row. It's just you have these seasons where everything just seemingly goes your way, and that's what happened. It's what's happening to the Cardinals right now. Ugh, I hate that team.
They're a good team. You think they're just getting they're 27 games over 500 and they're just getting nothing but breaks.
It's like the rub of the green. You go to a golf, you go play golf, and you get every bad bounce known to man, and it's like eventually that stuff evens out. All these breaks that the Cardinals are getting now,
and the Cubs
they're not going to be getting later.
The Cubs announcer yesterday tried to diminish how good Yadier Molina is yesterday, too.
Molina's great.
Yeah, well, it's the same concept. You're just trying to diminish the fact that they're a good team because you hate them because you're a Cub fan.
I hate them. I don't hate them because I'm a Cub fan. I hate them because they're arrogant. When I see Matt Carpenter take a ball and then walk around like, oh, my gosh. Oh, it reminds me of like some of these soft hippers. Like, oh, my God, I need to hit a bullseye, and they got to get all psyched up, and then all of a sudden, boom, bullseye. It's like, dude, the thing's as big as your belt buckle. It's like a satellite dish. Just throw it in there, would you? Matt Carpenter is like the reason they put in this stupid rule about don't leave the batter's box, and now he's doing it all the time. You watch him. Count how many times he's completely out of the batter's box, turns his back to the catcher, walks toward the dugout a few steps, rings his bat, goes back, then he's got to hold. I would drill that guy. I would so drill him. People don't get drilled enough, especially with all the body armor they're wearing. And what were you saying? The guy. We'll get back to the comparison. There was one thing you were saying. We were talking about Scherzer losing his perfect game.
Yeah.
And you're saying that there's nothing wrong with that guy leaning into the pitch, getting hit, and guys do it all the time.
They all turn into pitches like that. They do it all the time.
Okay.
All he did was
I'm not seeing that much.
Batting like this, and all he does is turn like this. He doesn't get out of the way and back off like that, but he turns into the pitch where he keeps his left elbow right there so it gets hit by the pitch. They do it all the time. So people saying that this guy should not have gotten hit by the pitch, it would have happened in the first inning. It would have happened in the fifth inning. It would have that particular batter, I guarantee, would have never gotten out of the way of that pitch, no matter what inning it was. I guarantee it.
I don't know. Is he an embarrassment to baseball?
No.
I mean, what's the difference between that and the guys who are complaining that in a no-hitter you don't bunt? Like in the late innings, if a guy's got a no-hitter, it's like some low-class thing to bunt.
Right.
What's up with that? You know, I mean, all these unwritten rules they used to have about baseball, where are they all?
Well,
are they all gone?
You know, do you take into account the fact that everybody's playing for their own contract and averages matter? And granted, one at bat might not matter, but you know, every at bat increases your batting average. And at the end of the year, when they're only looking at stats and say you hit 300, I mean, if you do it because you bunt to get on base. You know, if they're gonna start doing shifts, are you not supposed to bunt against a shift? Because
I think you should. I think
I
think part of the reason the overall batting average is down is these shifts are effective. These spray charts are effective.
And the no hitter's over.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Carrasco. Nice try. There's another near no hitter. There's been one every day this week.
Always against Tampa Bay. Anyway. Yes, I think I agree with you. I think the batting average is because these guys won't hit the ball in the opposite field, which goes into the bunting aspect that I believe why you were misinformed on me saying that you shouldn't bunt with
I'm going to let that
first
go.
and second.
I'm going to let that go. We had a loud conversation behind home plate at a White Sox game where I'm like, why on earth are they not bunting 2 on, nobody out in a tie game? And you were defending Robin Ventura. You think he's a good manager?
I'm defending. I can't. I wish I could remember who was at bat. I'm defending the fact
it wasn't like a 3 or 4 hitter. It was like a 7, 8, or 9 hitter.
No, then you had to be.
You were drinking.
I was going to say you were because there's no reason I would.
Pretty sure I was.
You should bunt there. I would.
I don't know. I mean, there's reasons to do it, and the one good thing about having Joe Madden in town is he has no problem explaining why he does things that people consider unorthodox. So I've actually, I can't say I understand him, but at least I'm kind of like, okay, well, at least he knows what he's doing. It's like jazz, you can break the rules as long as you know what they are, right? And so, batting the pitcher 8th all year and stuff, okay. It didn't help him today, but I can kind of see why he's doing it. So, it's the team's not hitting. I don't think the batting order has anything to do with it. So our left fielder can't drive in runs either. Who's playing center for you these days?
Our left fielder is hitting the ball better. I mean, he's hitting 250 now. He was hitting like
a
$190.
A whole 250?
He was hitting like $190.
Way below your expectations, right? You figured him to be like. We talked before the season started. You were
almost
excited.
A career 300 hitter.
Yeah, and so he's way down on his normal numbers.
Here's the funny thing about baseball, though. By the end of the year, he might be hitting
salary
300.
drive. Sure, yeah. When the games don't count, there's a lot of guys that hit really well. Like Aramis Ramirez was I always thought a pretty good clutch hitter, but some guys always hit better. Later in the year, these some of the guys that come from south of the border kind of countries like the Dominican and Venezuela and stuff, Zambrano, guys like that, they hated playing here in April.
Sure.
I mean, the weather's cold. I don't understand why we even had all these April games. I don't understand why everybody's not playing in Miami and all the West Coast teams. They should all be home loaded.
Are you going to say though? Are you going to say that Coughlin's a better baseball player than Melky Cabrera?
Am I going to say Coughlin's? Sure, he is.
Okay.
He can play like 8 positions. His on-base percentage, I would think, is pretty comparable. I think if you compare their batting numbers...
I'm not talking about this year. I'm talking about an overall career.
Well, I don't know. Was Melky Cabrera Rookie of the Year?
Was Coughlin?
Yeah.
What?
Coughlin was Rookie of the Year with the Marlins. He's had a weird career. They were doing some jumping celebration about something, and he blew out his ACL.
Okay.
And I see the Cubs jumping around, and I'm like, hey, Coughlin, you want to mention to them what could possibly happen? So they actually toned down the little bunny hops they were doing after they won, and Castro still does it, but that guy, I don't know. Yeah, I would say Coughlin's having a better year than Cabrera.
Oh, I think he is having a better year. Sure.
So is he a better player? Yeah.
Well, right
He
now
is today.
Yeah.
He is right now. Who's your center fielder?
Yeah.
He is right now. Who's your center fielder?
Adam Eaton.
Oh, right. I used to like him. He had some weird thing in the press the other day. I don't know if he's making excuses or what. I mean, he just strikes me as one of these guys that, his top end is journeyman. He's just never going to be what you really hope. He's not going to be like an OPS of 380 leading off. He's not going to steal 30 bases.
He was supposed to.
There aren't really any of those guys left anymore, like prototypical leadoff hitters.
Right.
I mean, nobody really has those.
Sure there are.
I mean, we have Fowler. Fowler's way better. I'm telling you, I have a nickname for Fowler. And I just, every time I watch him
I disagree
in the field,
with the way better. Way better? He's hitting 237.
Who is?
Fowler.
Well, yeah.
Way better?
Way better than Eaton.
Way better.
Yeah, because he's got game-winning hits and he plays flawless in the outfield.
Flawless.
He is so Clyde.
Okay.
Oh, Fowler's great. And Fowler
is not great.
Fowler has.
You do not build a championship team with Dexter Fowler as your center fielder.
Well, I'll tell you what. Do you remember who was the guy? Kenny Lofton.
Yes.
Yeah, I look at
Kenny
Fowler
Lofton
like
was
a
great.
Kenny Lofton guy.
He's
he's just not getting
not
on
even
base.
Comparable to Kenny Lofton.
Well, he's
Not
better. He's
even
way better than Adam
comparable.
Eaton. So as far as right field, I don't even know who to say about right field because we've had a turnstile out there for a while. Right now we got Chris Denorfia out there. He was hitting 429 2 weeks ago. I think he's down to like 260 now. And he's having a rough time, but at least he's out there. He's plugging along. I don't know who you have in right. I mean, I'm waiting for Soler. I'm a big believer that Jorge Soler is going to be a right field stud for a long time. He's going to be better than Jason Worth.
That has nothing to do with today's game.
We're talking about where the team is this season. He's played the
Okay.
majority of games in
All
right
right.
field, but he's injured now. So I don't want you to say we're comparing right fielders. Like your starting right fielder is
Avisail Garcia. You're comparing him
Avisail
to a guy
Garcia.
that's on the DL.
Yeah. Okay. Well, how's Garcia doing? What's Garcia's numbers? How's he doing?
He's doing okay.
Okay.
269.
That's not bad. 269
29 RBIs,
this
7
day,
home runs.
To be honest, this day and age, if you add 25 points to everybody's batting average, I think that would make it comparable
700 on base
to
percentage. Or OPS, I mean.
700 OPS a little low, so he doesn't walk much. If he's hitting 270
Right.
and his OPS is, so he's not seen enough pitches. Does he strike out a lot?
Everybody in the league strikes out a lot.
Yeah, that's
It seems
kind
that
of
way.
the way it is.
67 strikeouts. I would say that's a lot.
I would say that's high end.
Yeah.
I would say that's high end. And he's got how many homers?
7.
Oh, okay. See, that's bad. See, if you look at homer to strikeout ratio, I think that tells you a lot. Like, I'm pretty sure before he got hurt, Stanton was leading the league in homers and strikeouts.
Right,
I think
I
so.
agree.
I think you're
Right.
good with that, right? If a guy's going to strike out and hit lots of homers, then who cares, right? But 7 homers, Coughlin's got 8, and he's not even a home run hitter. So a corner outfielder with that many strikeouts and that many home runs, I'd have to say you're totally disappointed in that guy.
I'm not at all disappointed in Avisail Garcia.
Are you happy with his production?
I'm not happy with the overall Sox production, but I mean,
Well, then you have to say you're not happy with it. But
whatever.
I mean, Soler's
The guy's
better.
a good defensive outfielder.
Is he?
Yes.
Okay.
You know nothing about these guys.
I'm
you're
asking.
ripping, and you're ripping on them.
Soler's
Just
so much
because
better.
Oh my God!
I have seen Garcia play. He looks a little slow.
Whatever.
He looks like a kind of
Soler
a
hasn't
thick
even played
dude.
a full year yet, and you're anointing him in the Hall of Fame.
Soler played the end of last year.
Yes.
And he played the beginning of this
Yes.
year. So I have a good sample of
great.
Soler.
And he's going to strike out 150 times.
He's going to cut that down. For what?
Sure he
Most of his strikeouts
And
are from these
Javier Baez
ridiculous
is going to be a great ball player too.
no. Look, he's in AAA.
Yeah.
His OPS was almost
I don't care
1,000
what
when he
their
got hurt.
OPS is in AAA. You can hit 240 in AAA and hit 300 in the major leagues. You can hit 300 in AAA and hit 240 in the major league.
Do you remember Walt Heriniak? Remember when
Yes,
he
I
took
remember
over as the
Walt
hitting
Heriniak.
coach and all the White Sox started kind of, including Pudge, they all started with the kind of one-handed follow-through and like the Charlie Law system of hitting. The whole team bought into it, and as a team, they became extremely, extremely difficult to pitch to. The Cubs have a new hitting coach who was like coaching Jose Altuve
and the Cubs
last
also
year.
got Yalamiro or whatever his name is, and you were all up in arms about how great this is. They got him as a hitting coach, and what happened? He got fired halfway through the season.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so now we have a new guy.
So half a season makes what?
I didn't fire. I don't understand what your argument is.
You're
here.
all excited about for what?
We have a new hitting coach
Yes.
this year.
How
You
long
got
is he
you
gonna
got
last?
that far.
How long
Well,
is he
so
gonna
far
last?
he's lasted this
Okay.
far.
All right.
Okay. He was Jose Altuve's hitting coach in
Right.
Houston last year.
Okay.
Right? This guy is fantastic. And the Cubs are instituting, as part of the culture that they're trying to foster. They've instituted the kind of hitting that has, everybody says, made the Yankees and the Red Sox as successful as they were, and
Sure.
also the games take longer because we see a lot of pitches.
Okay.
Okay? There's a good thing to that.
Sure.
What I was basically saying is Garcia doesn't see enough pitches, right? But you guys don't. I don't see any sort of cohesive strategy team-wide like the Cubs are trying to introduce. And we've only got a couple guys that have not bought into it. And we'll get to
Okay.
Mr. Knucklehead in a minute. Where are we on time? I don't even care.
Well, we're ready for a break. Somewhat. You've got a couple guys that haven't bought into it. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys that are hitting over 260. One of them is on the DL and Soler. One of them is Baxter that doesn't play every day. One of them's Denorfia, and one of them is Schwarber, who's not playing, and one of them's a pitcher.
Yeah, I think Schwarber's our leading hitter.
So you've got like 3 guys that are supposedly buying into this system because everybody else is hitting 258 or less.
Buying into the system doesn't mean that you're going to hit 330. That wasn't the point.
But 239 is great.
Who said 239 was great? I never said that. That I
that's
want my
their
guys to hit 230. Who's hitting 239?
Russell and Montero.
Okay, Addison Russell
Fowler,
is hitting
237.
Okay, well, you want to take them one at a time?
Well, no, I'm just saying if they're all buying into this system, then how is that working?
It's working like we lead the league in pitches seen.
Okay.
And we've been getting a little bit off track of the way they were doing it in the last 10 days or so. And I think part of the reason is if the umpire, and they literally did this at a Cub game, the last homestand, the umpire was so bad at calling, Lester barked into his glove, turned his back.
Remember that.
And the ump went, I've never seen an ump go after a player where the catcher had to hey,
right.
Don't go after my pitcher.
And Lester said he didn't say anything at the umpire, which I believe him.
Yeah, he's just like, and the umpire immediately thinks he's being criticized. Well, you stink, Andy Fletcher, at calling balls and strikes anyway. Now you're going to make it worse by go chase the pitcher, right? I haven't seen anything from the league about how he got fined.
That's one thing I disagree with. I think that, I totally understand the rule of not letting the bench people on the dugout yell at you for balls and strikes, but I mean, you're competing on the mound as a pitcher. You have every right to be disgusted about something.
Yeah, this
you
notion
have
that you're supposed to be like a little leaguer, and when a guy takes the bat out of your hands with bad calls at the plate, you're supposed to have a smile on your face and carry your bat and run back to the dugout. No.
I think a batter and a pitcher should be able to show displeasure towards an umpire without getting any repercussions whatsoever.
Some guys were pretty good at it over the years, and I don't know if the umps now, if they're like more sensitive to it or stuff. I mean, obviously, if you're going to be riding the umpire from the dugout, and obviously they can hear you, although I don't know, I hear peanut vendors sometimes, but there's like 30,000 people there. I mean, umps miss calls.
Sure.
And some of them are obvious, and the umps have to know that. The idea that the home plate umpire is off limits to criticism from the players he's umpiring is like stupid. It's like, oh, you missed that one.
Yeah.
I mean, was that inside? No. Oh, let's count. I mean, you don't have to rip on the guys.
Exactly.
But, part of that's on the players. But
the player, you should be allowed to say, oh, come on, or, that's way outside, and usually you can. But,
showing up the umps. The umps, I'm not there to watch somebody ump.
Right. Nobody is.
I'm not there to watch the umps.
Right.
Some of these guys, Bruce Fleming and, Harry Wendelstedt had the players' respect, and they had been around a long time. Now I'm not sure where the players are. And the idea that the home plate umpire now doesn't want to check on first and third all the time is driving the hitters crazy. because it's hard to see the front of the plate when you're behind the catcher. Everybody knows that. That's why they put the appeal play in. And now they decided, no, you know what? We're too good, and we don't need them.
On for
no.
years.
There's something else going on with the umps.
No,
There's something going on
about that for 15 years.
There's something going on. It's not being talked about a lot, but I think, things like Questek and K-Zone and all that stuff where they're grading the umpires, and now that you have review, and now the umpires, look how many calls they miss. Look how many calls over the last 100 years of baseball umpires have blown without any repercussions because there was no evidence. Mm-hmm. Oh, you missed that call. No, I saw it. No, he was clearly out. Well, obviously, they miss a great, vast percentage of close calls. But they're hard to make.
From the same aspect, though, is how many reviewed plays this year is the side that didn't get the review call still upset because they don't agree with it?
Well,
it happens all the time.
It's a new process. It's a new process. I'm sure they'll improve it. It's obviously, it's able to improve. The only point I'm trying to make, though, is watching the Cubs as closely as I am over the last 2 years, I've never seen such horrible umpiring.
Well,
and it's not just one crew; it's a lot of crews.
I know, but you're biased.
And no, what
I'm telling you, you talk to somebody in every baseball team, they're going to say
so it's
the
unanimous that the umps are having a hard time. I think there's some interplay going on between like Major League Baseball and the umpires union, right? Because they have a very strong union. Mm-hmm. And it's hard to get into. And Major League umps, are kind of like, they think they're something. They're the top of their profession.
Yeah.
It's good to, be prideful of what you do. But, I'm looking at these guys sometimes, and I'm like, there was a guy at first base, and I am like, I don't know, 50 yards from first base, from where we sit in the stadium.
Right.
And, guy throws it to first, and the first baseman's off the bag. And I'm immediately yelling, he's off the bag, he's off the bag. He called him out. It was like the quickest review of the season. He blew this call so bad, and it's like, that happens.
Sure.
So you want the human element? You want a guy like that to determine whether your $150 million payroll team is going to win a game? No. You have to have review. You have to get the calls right. That's all I want.
I want review. I want review on every play then. I think every play matters. And you can't sit there and limit the fact that, well, if you don't get the review right, you lose your reviews for the rest of the game. And then the umpires have on their opinion whether they review a play or not. So you could go out there and argue, and then all of a sudden, if it's the fifth inning, they might not review it, but if it's the seventh inning, they might do it, and then all of a sudden, it doesn't make any sense to me. If you want to get, and it's not just baseball, it is every sport to me, if you want to get reviews right, you have to review every play. If you can't review every play, then the system is flawed. Baseball started out with the review only on home runs, and I said that was the dumbest thing in the world. How can you only review a home run?
They were testing out, they're trying to. You got to understand.
But
there's an institution here.
I understand it, but you can't limit the reviews because every play matters. I don't understand in football how you can't review certain plays. I don't understand in baseball how it's limited to this and this, and it annoys me because if you want to get their moniker,
you're not saying
to get every call right. Well, they don't get every call right because you can't review every play because they don't want to take.
You don't need to review every play.
Hours.
It's pretty obvious when the guy's halfway to first and you see the first baseman catch the ball and step on the bag. You don't have to review
not every play. You know what I mean? Every reviewable play. You
should be able to overturn any call, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Yeah. It's the same in football. That's not reviewable, and it's sort of like football's difficult to officiate anyway.
Sure.
But baseball, look, balls and strikes, safe or out, is like a little more cut and dried. I don't understand the thing you were talking about where the catcher's behind home plate with the transfer rule, and they said that you couldn't overturn it because it wasn't a ball in play.
It's foul territory.
Yeah, I don't understand that.
But they have rules like that.
Well,
which don't make any sense.
Okay, I mean they need to fix that. But
I like the human element in calling balls and strikes.
Oh, well, humans get it wrong.
That's what I like the human element.
Well,
K-Zone gets it wrong. How do you know? I mean,
I don't know quite how that's engineered.
That's what I like
but
the human element in because the balls and strikes. is, the pitcher thinks it's a strike. Well, he doesn't know for 100% accuracy. He just he thinks it's a strike.
I don't know.
But it could be a ball. The batter thinks it's a ball, and it's called a strike.
Yeah, I mean, the borderline calls.
Right.
If they end up going 50-50,
that's what I
I'm
like
fine
the
with
human
that.
element. And as much as people say it, and people get upset about it, well, as long as he's consistent, I agree with that. If you're gonna have a pitcher throw a ball on low and outside called a strike all the time, the hitters know it. They know how to adjust, and they have to swing. If you get a guy that calls a ball 2 inches outside, one at bat, and then the next at bat, once it's a strike, then it's a ball. The batter doesn't know what to do.
I mean, it used to be you used to see stuff like makeup calls, like if an ump missed a pitch.
Well, it still happens.
Do you still see that?
Yeah.
I haven't noticed any of that.
The biggest thing is your
umps declaring war on a certain team for
one
the rest of the game.
One of your biggest complaints is like Tom Glavine, that he never threw a strike.
Never threw a strike.
The thing is like Tom Glavine consistently threw the ball on the outside corner or just outside.
Not just outside, but way outside.
And they kept calling it a strike, so he kept throwing it there, and they kept calling it a strike. It's the umpires that would call that a ball or the strike the first time, and then the next, or like a ball the first time, and the next time a strike, and then all of a sudden the batter doesn't know whether he has to swing at it or not.
If you look at it, especially in college basketball, it was always Duke. Every time I watched a Duke game, they're talking to the refs, the players. Every time there's a stoppage, they're over there talking to the ref about something. They're always working the officials. Mm-hmm. I watched the Cardinals play. Early in the game, if there's calls against them, hey, we're the Cardinals. We get that call. Haven't you read the paper? Right? And it's kind of weird because it seems to me that it affects the umps. That they're more likely to give certain teams borderline calls than other teams, and certain hitters borderline calls than other hitters. The same way they didn't call Jordan for traveling for 15 years.
Or any NBA player now, but...
So I don't know. I'd like to see that go.
Somebody was talking about even in hockey is like that they go in between periods and the officials discuss how it went.
Have another donut.
And literally that like if it's like 5-1 on power plays, you're almost guaranteed to get it reversed the other way.
I don't know. I mean, I think the hockey refs in general do a real good job. When they added the second referee, that really helped. When it came to getting calls right in hockey. I mean, they're still swallowing their whistles in the playoffs, but I thought the hockey playoffs were great this year. Not just because we won. But
my point being is if they're going to go in there and review their performance and being like, well, my God, how did we give 5 penalties to so-and-so team and 1 to them? We have to change that. No, you don't. You made those calls for a reason, right?
Yeah, well... Yeah, I kind of get what you're saying, and I've heard the announcers say, well, we have 3 pounds in... I don't know that that's really predictive. It might be, but I don't think hockey guys make up call penalties unless they talk to each other like the next stoppage, and the guy's like, oh, geez, you blew that one. We owe 1. I don't really see too much of that happening. Let's take a break, and we'll come back, and we'll talk some more baseball. We're done with the outfield, right?
Yes.
Okay. Soler is vastly superior to Garcia. All right, we'll be back.
Hasn't even played a full year. Hasn't even played a full year yet.
We'll be back in a minute.
Vastly. Well, that's not working.
Okay. I don't know what happened.
I don't know. I don't either. Everything's plugged in.
Okay. Awesome.
It's still trying to go.
All right. Well, pretend that
Anyway.
we had some intro music,
Woo.
and there we are.
Well, the other music was long enough anyway, so.
Okay. So we're still comparing the vastly superior Cubs to the vastly
Correct.
inferior Sox.
Correct.
We're superior in every way.
How do you sleep at night?
Soundly. You want to go third base or first base
Doesn't matter.
for the infield?
Well, I don't even know why we're discussing it anymore. Chris Bryant's better. Castro's better.
How's
Addison Russell's better, and Rizzo's better. So
I
there we
understand
go.
you're
We're
frustrated. I understand you're frustrated with your team.
I'm not frustrated with my team. I'm frustrated with you thinking that the Cubs are the end-all, be-all that might not even make the playoffs this year.
Well, they might not even win tonight. What are they, in the bottom of the 10th?
Something
with their
like that.
closer in, a scoreless game? I mean, our bats
They're
have
great.
gone
No,
really
the Cubs
cold.
are great, though. Why do we talk about it? They're so good that I can't believe they're not 27 games over 500 like the Cardinals are, which you hate, and rip on them because they're a good team. The Cubs are great. I don't know why we're talking about it. That's it. It's that simple.
Are you tired?
They're 24 years old, and you think
Not
they're
all
the
of
next,
them.
They're
No,
all
some
the
of them
next
are
Lou
younger.
Gehrig's.
No, look. I mean, what they're building, I'm excited about it.
What if Addison Russell is nothing but a 237 hitter the rest of his career?
I don't know.
Is that going to make you happy? Because you think he's going to hit 300 the rest of his life.
I never said Addison Russell would hit 300. Never did I say that. I never saw the guy play until they brought him up. He had like
It's nothing-
7 games in
it's
AAA.
nothing like, my guy, these guys are going to be the best baseball players ever. That's what you've been talking about.
I have never said any of those words.
Oh, you
did
liar.
First base, are you got a platoon at first or
No, Jose Abreu.
and then what? LaRoche is your DH?
Yeah, and then, he'll sub every now and then at first.
But it's mostly Abreu playing first.
Yeah.
How's Abreu doing?
Hey, he's hitting close to 300, around 280, 290.
Okay, which is pretty
293.
good. He's not getting that sophomore slump you were worried about.
Yeah, the home runs are down, RBIs are down, but nobody's on base.
Well,
But
yeah.
he's still hitting 293. He's still hitting the ball.
Yeah, I mean, his
He's the
home
only
runs.
guy. He's the only guy on the team that anybody fears.
Yeah, his
So
home runs
he's-
are going to be down because he's not going to see a lot of pitches to hit because he's got no protection in the lineup.
I think he's the real deal, though. I mean,
Yeah,
he's good.
Well, he's not 21 either. What is he, 30? He's
Well,
in
who
the
knows?
prime.
You never know.
Okay. What's he listed at?
I don't even know. Probably
around
like
30.
28, I would think.
No,
Yeah.
I thought it was older than that. But I mean, you get a guy like him.
Yeah,
He's
it
in
says 28 here. So
28. He's in the prime of his career. I would say this year, last year, and then 2 or 3 more years. You're going to get the 5 best years of the guy's baseball, right? And he's been
You would
good. He's been good, right? His gloves are adequate or better than adequate?
I would say he's above average defensively.
Above average defensively.
Yeah, I don't know.
He's
if
not a
he'll-
liability.
I don't know if he'll ever win a Gold Glove, but I don't think you're not looking to put Adam Roche or anybody in there as a defensive replacement at the
okay.
later innings.
Well, that's good.
He's definitely, he's like defensively. I would say he's a lot like Paul Konerko. He's a very above average defender.
And he catches right-handed, doesn't he?
Yes.
Yeah,
Well, he
right-handed
hits
first.
right-handed.
Yeah. Well, some guys,
Yeah.
catch with the other hand.
Right.
We have a left-handed first baseman who
Right.
is kind of becoming the de facto captain at 25. And
Well, he's almost the oldest player on the team.
Yeah, well,
Well.
I mean, D'Onofrio and Fowler,
Right.
I mean, they did try to get some veterans in the offseason, and we got some guys, some veterans that were hurt, too. They got Tommy LaStella. I think he's played 1 game. And mystery illness. I think they're just kind of stockpiling him. I think he's stashed somewhere. No, and I think if you look at Rizzo's numbers, they'll be better than Abreu's.
By much.
Rizzo's OPS was well over 1,000 up until about a week ago. And we're kind of in a team hitting slump, so everybody's numbers are down.
Actually,
from,
Rizzo was hitting like 320 a couple weeks ago. He's down to 300.
Yeah, he's down to 300. And again, they flip flop him and Chris Bryant, and it just seems like whoever's hitting before the other guy does way better. Because you got the other guy behind him. So I think lately Rizzo's been in front of Bryant, and he's making contact. He's taking the ball to left field against the shift sometimes. His 2-strike hitting approach has been awesome, Remember the old choke and poke with 2 strikes that nobody does anymore? Rizzo kind of does it. You know, he all he does is he reduces his front step and makes it, you know, very, very minimal, and it's just kind of an arm swing, like you're trying to hit, like, you know, a half a pitching wedge. And he's been successful with that. He's gone through a streak, you know, you get these guys, you know, line drives, go right to the opposing team's glove, right? He hits into the shift sometimes. He's got too much pride, I think, to lay one down when there's no third baseman.
Sure.
But,
well, they're not asking him to either. I mean,
you know,
a lot to do with it.
But his RBIs are, you know, he's probably had more opportunities. I tried to find accurate left-on-base averages, and I had a really hard time. You know, the whole guys left on base, because I believe Coughlin's probably up to around 500. I mean, that guy is like, he has left guys on base all season, and it's really, I don't know if it's an anomaly.
What do you mean his average on his...
Well, he's played every game, and at one point he had 8 homers and 18 RBIs. They brought up Russell, I don't know when. Russell's got like less homers, but like more RBIs, hitting 9th.
Right.
You know, so I mean, it's just kind of weird. Early in the season when Soler was in the lineup, and, you know, we do miss him. We miss that bat. They had guys on base all the time, and it just seemed like Coughlin would come up with the bases loaded and fly out with 2 out or hit into a double play, and, you know, not executing what you really need to do. But he wasn't striking out much, unless it was like, you know, in the 9th inning with the tying run at 3rd and 2 out. You know, then he's toast. You know, then it's swing and miss time. I think that's mental. I really do. So first base, I won't say that Rizzo's vastly superior to Abreu. I'll say Rizzo's having a better year so far. You know, and being I would not disagree. I would not disagree.
Yeah,
I mean, you know I'm a homer, but I mean, like, you talk about Konerko. He was pretty much the captain of the White Sox, and I think you have to factor that into somebody's worth as a player, and it doesn't show up in the numbers. You know what I mean?
Yes,
and I think Rizzo is kind of like sort of taking on that role, which is nice to see. Second base, you platooning? Who's playing second for you? Is it kind of some days Beckham, some days that other guy?
Really, now it's just
They had a guy that they said they were going to stick with, and all of a sudden they sent him down to AAA about a month ago.
Now I can't think of his name. Where is it? Well, see, this has Micah Johnson on here, but he's gone.
He's the guy they sent down.
They sent down.
Don't you have another?
It's got Bonifacio, but he's just
he plays kind of second sometimes, second and center, and stuff like that.
Wow, now I can't think of his name.
Is he any good? Because you're ripping on Addison Russell. At least you
hit.
knew my guy's name. He can't hit. Oh, okay. Well, our second baseman is very young.
This guy, who is very young as well, but I mean, I equate him to Willie Mays Hayes from Major League.
Oh, dear.
The guy should do a push-up every time he hits a ball in the air. It's amazing. I'm like,
is he fast like Willie Mays Hayes?
Yeah, probably not as fast as like he would. But the guy's got speed, and, I mean, he's got to hit line drives and hit the ball on the ground, and the guy flies out all the time. It's very annoying.
Oh, hey, here's Coughlin, 1 out, first and second, 1 out, top of the 11th. Let's see if Coughlin
there's 1
drives
out,
in a
so
run.
maybe he'll get a hit instead of the 2 outs you keep right.
Oh, no, he hits into a double play.
Oh, okay.
No, Addison Russell wasn't supposed to be on the team this year. He was supposed to spend the season in AAA. He played 7 games in AAA, and we had to bring him up because literally we were out of people. People got hurt and stuff. And it was weird that they didn't want to bring up Arismendi Alcantara. So they brought up Addison Russell, and he, you know, it's kind of weird. You know, I'm really irritated with, like, some of the guys that talk about baseball. They talk about Peterson, the rookie center fielder for the Dodgers, who did play last year, but it's his rookie year. He's doing really well. He's got like 20 dingers, something like that. But they're saying, oh, you know, he does this, he does that. It's like, it's much easier for one rookie to come to an established team and get kind of assimilated into the team than it is with the Cubs, where we have so many young guys. Right, but Addison Russell, somehow they managed to slip him in under the radar, no pressure, hit 9th, and kind of learn your way through the major league. And I think he's been doing it really well. He He looks good in the field to me. He's quick.
He's okay.
He's quick. He's bigger. I guess everybody is now, right? He's 6 feet tall. I mean, Alcantara was like 5'10", and he looked really short out there. I don't know if he really was 5'10". He's gotten some, he's gotten some clutch RBIs. He's gotten some game-winning hits. And to be honest with you, if you wanted him to play short tomorrow, he could.
Right.
And I think he'd be delighted to. So we got you at second base. At shortstop, I don't even know what to say. I mean, Starlin Castro is going to just be one of those players, like Manny Ramirez was. He's just going to do goofy stuff, and there's just no way around it. He's the guy that isn't buying into the hitting system. He's the guy with the, quote, great plate
still
coverage.
Like 270.
Yeah, remember Sean Dunston? Do you remember him? He swung at anything white, and he would hit, 270, 280. Well, Castro is?
Yeah.
It was up higher, but
right.
Like the whole team's batting averages dropped 20 points in the last week because they're just kind of in a slump, and it'll go up. I mean, I'm not worried about numbers like that, but the thing that kills me about Castro, and you could see that he's trying to do it, like he's got a reputation for, going fishing on the low and away stuff. Mm-hmm. So they're pitching him away and away, and he's trying to hit the ball to right field. So he puts the effort in. It's just like there's something.
I'm not worried about him necessarily as a hitter. I mean, I think he's going to be a 270 to 290 hitter. He's aloof, and that's what. But I still can't figure it out. I think he's a good ball player.
He is a good ball player.
People are just since the Cubs have this influx of young talent, they're immediately running him out of town.
Well,
and saying Addison Russell should be at short, and
Javi can play short too. Javi can play short
and all this stuff. And I'm like, you're giving away a guy that basically almost has 200 hits.
He's
a year.
25 years old,
and
he's going to finish the season with over 1,000 hits for his career.
Yeah, I just don't. I don't see why you want to run this guy out of town.
What you want is reliability and consistency, and that's the thing that he falls down on.
That doesn't mean you're going to get it from a 20-year-old either.
Well, that's true.
I mean, they're just...
Hence, our shortstop is Castro. I mean, the guys running the team aren't stupid.
I know.
The fans like us are kind of like, well, geez, this guy, well, we could get Cole Hamels for him.
Yeah.
Well, could you?
What's Cole Hamels doing? Granted, he's playing with a weak-hitting ball team, but...
Hey, Steve Carlton won 27 games one year when the Phillies were the worst team in the league. I mean,
but Cole Hamels is towards the end of his career. He's not doing anything special.
No, he's got some. He's not even 30. He's got some miles on him, but he's not toward the end of his career. I mean, It used to be pitchers really didn't hit their stride till they were like 29, because you
Cole
have to
Hamels
make
isn't tearing it up.
No, he's not, and I have a feeling he's not going to tear it up because he's just saving wear and tear on his arm. And if he grooves a fastball and a guy hits out of the park, he doesn't care because the game doesn't matter because the team ain't going anywhere.
Right.
Their manager just quit.
Yeah, I know.
Their manager was just like, you know what, I can't take this. Their president is now like, well, here, sit by my side and let me show you the ropes, and you can take over at the end of the year. Pat Gillick is like a great baseball guy, and now they're going to bring in Andy McPhail.
Oh, are they really?
Yeah.
Did Coughlin get a hit?
I don't know. Should we call a timeout?
He did get a hit. It's 1-0.
Oh, my gosh. Chris Coughlin drove in a run. News alert.
You got to talk bad about him more often.
We could do that. Yeah, so shortstop, you've got Alexi Ramirez, who's very thin.
He's very thin.
What are his numbers?
We have the two thinnest baseball players in the league.
Oh,
Chris Sale and Ramirez.
Hey, come to a Bears game. Use them for goalposts.
Yeah.
What's the deal with Ramirez this year? Is it numbers up or down?
No.
Oh, he can't hit?
No.
Oh, well then you're really in big trouble, because he was like a middle-of-the-order hitter last year, wasn't he?
Well, they've tried him everywhere. They've tried him to hit second. They've tried him, fifth, sixth, or seventh, whatever.
Do you think it's time to get rid of Ventura? Do you think to shake things up? I mean, you're really
Carlos
down on this
Sanchez,
team.
that's the guy.
Carlos Sanchez.
See,
the second baseman.
They got listed him as shortstop, but he's playing second base. That's why I missed it.
I give up on the whole position thing.
He's only hitting $1.65.
Are you a corner guy? Are you a middle guy? What? You know that's how I look at it now.
I don't know. I mean, my guess
is
would
the
be
season
yes,
over?
It's probably time to get rid of Ventura. I don't know. Is it Ventura's fault that the team can't hit? I mean,
I don't know how many hitting coaches. I mean, you got rid of Greg Walker. right? I mean, Greg Walker was a
day,
great ball
player. The other
player.
day they're playing in Detroit, and Samardzija's pitching, and he's finally pitched well for the first time all year. And he goes into they're up 4-0 in Detroit, and they face David Price, so they get to David Price, and they're up 4-0 and going to the 8th inning, and Ventura leaves him in there.
Yeah, I read Samardzija's comments after the game. Samardzija's like, no, I was fine.
Of course
His pitch count was low.
He's going to say that.
But as the manager, when you see somebody go off the rails, what, do you want to see a train wreck? Or you want to get the thing back on the track? I mean, that's the thing.
They having confidence in it wasn't the 5th or 6th inning. It's the bottom of the 8th, and you're looking at the fact that you have a decent bullpen. They upgraded their bullpen this year.
You got the game won, and it's slowly unraveling in front of your eyes.
Have to take the guy
Do
out
something.
Yeah.
Do something.
I thought that was ridiculous.
Go out and ask him where he's having dinner. Do something.
I agree, and I know you're going to go out there and Samardzija's going to say, "No, I'm fine. I feel good." Well, of course you do. You're a competitor. You want to do that. You're
playing for big money. You're playing for a $100 million contract.
Well,
I know you want to be out there.
Yeah, but there's
I just
there's no reason to leave him in the game at that point.
There are certain managers that I have noticed are really bad handling pitchers. Rick Renteria, I didn't think was very good at it, and I wonder if Ventura is one of those guys. Where as a hitter and as a third baseman his whole career, I don't know how much he understands about being a pitcher. I think a lot of hitters look down on pitchers.
You lean
the way football players look down on punters.
Coach. You lean on your pitching coach too, right? I mean, you got a good pitching coach. He's got to help you out.
He's been around for a
aspect.
while. I don't know if he's good, but he's been around. Sale's good. I mean,
you don't think Don Cooper's good?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I mean, he's been around a long time, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't he there, the manager before Ventura? Hasn't Cooper been around for a while?
Yeah.
There are guys with reputations for being really good coaches, and it's like I just go by, okay, he must be. How would I know? He's not coaching me.
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, it's like you look at a guy like Chris Sale who came up through your system, college pitcher, right? Drafted him out of college, brought him up. He's been doing great. You look at somebody like John Danks. Can anybody help him?
Well, after he got hurt,
I mean, it's like he hasn't been able to hasn't been able to perform. You can't blame that on the pitching coach. When I look at the hitting coach, though, and you look at if you just look at the at bats, watch the game closely, and look how many guys are swinging for themselves. Look at how many guys are trying to get on base versus just trying to hit a home run. You can't allow that if your team is struggling to score runs. Then that's the manager's job to say, look, we got to start manufacturing some runs.
Sure.
We got to do something.
Right.
Well,
I get that.
It's just weird. I mean, I don't know if this propensity that teams have now hiring coaches or managers with no managerial experience. I don't know where that came from.
I don't either.
It's like, hey, I got an idea. Let's have a rookie coach.
Mm-hmm.
I just think it's kind of like
well,
dumb.
Then the Padres took it a step further. The GM's going to come down and be the manager.
Yeah, that was just...
It was strange.
Oh, you mean Miami?
I thought it was the Padres.
No, it was Miami. No, it was Miami.
Is it Miami?
Yeah, it was Miami.
Okay.
The Padres GM is wants to be the next Trader Jack.
Oh,
made all those moves in the offseason. Compared to tell me where you think, how far the Sox are from where you thought they would be when all the offseason stuff was done and they came out of spring training. Like the day before opening day, where did you think they would be versus where are they now?
Oh, honestly, I think they're about 10 games away. I thought there would be about a 500 team.
So you figured they'd be about 500.
Yeah.
And they'd be kind of
maybe
in it,
maybe for the wild card.
Yeah, it's hard to tell because you don't know what the other teams are going to do. But you figured you'd be a 500 team.
I didn't like their back end of the rotation, and they improved their relieving core, but you didn't really improve. I mean, supposedly everybody was all happy with all the pickups they made offensively, but I wasn't overly excited about it. So I didn't think they were just going to be,
I thought
300 hitting team or even close to it. So I really thought that they would maybe at best fight for a wild card spot. So the only reason they're underachieving to me is they literally can't hit.
But they brought in Adam LaRoche. They brought in Melky Cabrera.
And they re-signed Adam Eaton, and he's not hitting it.
Well, he may hit later, but I mean, at some point it's too late.
Right.
When you're 15 games under 500 and all of a sudden you're going to raise your batting average, what have you done for us?
Right.
You know what I mean?
No,
the
but
salary
so that's
drive
the thing.
guys.
For some reason, they can't hit with runners in scoring position, but they can't get on base, or I don't know. It's just
well, if they can't get on base, then
I told you this before. It's an interesting dynamic. You know your team is bad, or not necessarily bad. You know your team isn't going to go anywhere when you get good pitching and you can't win, and then you get bad pitching, but you get good hitting and then you get bad pitching.
Right.
Or you have a closer that's really good, but then when you're not winning and then you finally get it to the closer, that's when he finally blows one. It's this dichotomy of nothing but piling on a bunch of stuff.
Well,
that it just, whereas good teams all of a sudden they'll win when the pitcher throws a good outing, 1-0, and they'll win when the pitcher has a bad day, and they'll win 6-5. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's when, and you can tell that about 2 months into the season whether you're going to have that type of team or not.
Yeah, the Cubs were like that in April and May last year, and I basically said every day they find a new way to lose.
Exactly.
One day it's the bullpen, one
right.
day it's the hitting, one day it's the starting pitching, one day it's the base running. And then one day the ump misses a call.
Right.
And then the next
and then
time the manager
stretch.
messes something up.
They'll win 5 games in a row just to give you a little bit of hope, and then they'll just go back to reverting to the ways of finding a way to lose.
That was the Cubs last year.
And
yeah,
the Sox are just in this position where they're a mediocre team, and like the Mets are a mediocre team, but they've at least put things together. I haven't watched them enough, but they've put things together enough to win some ball games, right?
Well, the Mets, I wouldn't call the Mets mediocre. I mean, the Mets are like
they got a good starting
bullpen
pitching.
heavy. Yeah, they've got good pitching.
But
right, they've got stars. They've got stars starting for them that are almost as good as Washington.
But they can't hit either.
Well,
yes, I agree with that.
Their position players leave a lot to be desired. I mean, you're going to rely on Duda to lead you to the promised land? Are you kidding me, man?
But anyway, just to answer your question, the White Sox just, they're that type of team that even though they have this talent, for some reason, they're going to be the type of team that let's see how we can lose today.
They're in a weird, they're in a weird sort of limbo. I think the White Sox are. I mean, they got Rondon early in the draft. You brought him up right away. He's been okay.
He's pitching all right.
But you've got a weird collection of players. I don't see any really kind of young up-and-coming guys playing for you, unless you're thinking Garcia, or maybe the second baseman you couldn't even remember his name. You got a catcher
Garcia
who's like the worst in the league, right? Tyler Flowers, is he the worst starting catcher in baseball? I mean, you picked up Giovanni Soto, and I figured he would help you. Well, he never, he just occasionally has days where he hits a couple of homers, but he's a catcher. You're not really supposed to be that worried, at least, in this day and age especially. You're not supposed to be that worried about what offensive production you get from a catcher. His value is in how he helps your pitching staff.
Well, he does
framing
fine
pitches
with that.
and stuff like that. Well, then
he does fine with that.
Okay, so you're happy with Flowers. He's an easy upgrade.
I'm not happy with Flowers because I think he's been in the league long enough where he should be hitting better than 220.
Yeah, see, there's
which
again,
is it's but I wouldn't sit
if
there
he was
and
hitting
say,
if he was hitting 245, would you be happy?
Sure.
Because that's kind of how I look at it now. When you look at batting averages for most players, I add 25 points to make it like so you could compare it to a few years ago because the pitching is different now.
I don't look at it that way.
Well, maybe you should.
I look at it the way that when you watch a team, I see Tyler Flowers get base hits with nobody on base, and he strikes out with the bases loaded, nobody out yesterday.
Yeah, well.
I don't care if he's hitting 250. If he's still striking out with the bases loaded, nobody out, hitting 250, I don't care about his average. You watch a team every day, and you get frustrated with the fact that you know that these guys aren't going to hit with runners in scoring position, whether they're hitting 270 or 210.
Yeah, well, it's like I remember we had Alfonso Soriano. And we had to suffer through this guy for I don't know how many years. I couldn't watch him anymore. I hated the guy because he could only hit when there was no one on base.
Right.
If there was somebody on base, he was toast. He was the worst cleanup hitter in the history of
Tyler
cleanup
Flowers
hitters.
hit the game-winning home run yesterday.
Yeah, you should have been happy about that.
Well, yeah, but he's just frustrating because the guy just is not a good situational hitter, and you win games by situational hitting. And now, granted, his average would be higher than 210 if he was a better situational hitter. Maybe it would be 245, but
well, that's the thing about
there's players out there that hit 245 that aren't good situational hitters, and you just know when they come up to bat that they're not going to get the job done.
Well, it's kind of weird. I mean, I think of Yadier Molina as probably the best clutch hitter of any catcher in the league.
Sure.
Not named Buster Posey.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of, Matt Wieters was, maybe like a one-year wonder. Brian McCann had some good years in Atlanta, but he went to New York, and he hasn't really been.
He's just coming back.
Yeah, he's hurt.
Too.
And, Posey and, Mauer is not really a catcher anymore, right? But, there's something about these guys that, rise to the occasion and guys that shrink from it. And you need people in your organization that rise to it.
That's one of my points is Yadier Molina was not a good hitter when he first came up.
No.
He's made himself into a good hitter.
Yeah, he learned.
Tyler Flowers hasn't even taken a step. That's what's the frustrating part.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of weird. I mean, he
hasn't even come close.
This deal with the scouting reports where the GM in L.A., the L.A. Angels, the GM quit. Mm-hmm. And he's been, like, button heads with Mike Scioscia, who's, I would have to say, Scioscia's probably old school.
I would think so.
Not old
yeah.
school, but Scioscia's old school. Scioscia's played the game. Mm-hmm. He was a catcher, right? He knows what's going on. And there was some sort of issue where the GM, they have all these like advanced sabermetrics and stuff, and he's trying to shove them to the players. And Scioscia's like, well, we kind of tell them some of this stuff, but not all of it because, some of it's geekdom stuff that Scioscia doesn't feel is relevant. Mm-hmm. So the GM decided that he wasn't making enough use of this information, so he started passing it directly to the players and bypassing the coaches.
I didn't hear this.
Yeah. Well, he quit.
Okay.
The owner had to kind of step in and see if he could resolve it, and apparently he quit. Packed up his office and said, I'm out of here. But, when it comes down to, like, what support you can give your players now as far as, like, what is this guy going to throw you when he's behind in the count and there's runners on base? What are you likely to see? Do you want to tell hitters that? Because hitting is reaction, not guessing. Guys that are at the plate guessing generally miss.
Right.
You have to be up there, see the ball, and hit the ball. Simple game, right? So I could kind of see Scioscia being like, don't clutter these guys up with a bunch of geekdom stats that, not every ball player went to college.
Right.
Right? Some of these guys have high school educations. Right? And you're going to give them a bunch of numbers, a bunch of gobbledygook. Some of them don't even speak English.
Right.
They're there because they can play. They're there because they're athletes. They're not scientists.
The cybermetrics are for upper management on, evaluation, who you want to draft, who you want to go for free agency. It's not to sit there and say, the pitchers are doing their studying and how they want to approach hitters, but you still have to execute the pitches. Batters go up there. They know. You might want to know that in such and such situations, the guy throws a curveball 80% of the time. But,
well, that's the
But really, how much further? There's that's like the same thing as some ball players want a sign from the guy on second base whether the catcher's like going to set up inside or outside. Some ball players don't want. Some hitters don't want that at all. They're like, I don't want to know.
Yeah,
it's not going to help me. So everybody's different.
It's pulling your mental focus from hitting to like, what's he going to pitch?
Right.
And that's kind of what I'm saying. It's like as a hitter is a big mistake. And I don't know if the Sox, if this is their problem. Everyone has advanced scouting now. Everyone has sabermetrics and all this other stuff. So. The players should have everything they need to perform. Now, whether or not they can perform is on the player, right?
Yeah,
so as far as Ventura,
they're just not
getting rid of
team.
Ventura, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how can you fix this season is what I'm wondering.
No. They're not going to go on like a 21 wins out of 22 games like the Colorado Rockies the one year they made the World Series. The Sox are going to, you watch the Cubs and you watch the Sox. Okay, the Cubs are having struggles hitting. The Cubs can win a game 10-0 and they can lose a game 10-0. The White Sox can lose a game 10-0, and they cannot even come close to winning a game 10-0.
It was so weird. They hit the ball so well
difference.
last year. Last year, scoring runs was the least of your worries, and then you added bats.
And our pitching, we had the worst.
Yeah, the bullpen was terrible last year.
Worst bullpen.
You were blowing 8-run leads. Mm-hmm. But now you added Cabrera, you added LaRoche, right? Who'd you lose? I mean, you have almost the same team you had last year, and all of a sudden none of them can hit. They were scoring 8 runs a game.
Garcia, because he got hurt after the first month of the season, was out until September.
Right, so you got Garcia too. And is he in some sort of sophomore slump? I mean, he hasn't been around that long.
No, he's hitting the ball pretty good this year, actually.
7 home runs and 67 strikeouts? He ain't hitting it that good.
Fine.
Well, whatever. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I mean, you're
Well,
I don't understand how a team can go from scoring that many runs to not.
I don't either, right? But, so you're also comparing the fact is you could say he's hitting 267, but a month ago he was hitting 300. So, you talk about the Cubs averages.
Yeah, same thing.
And you go, and your excuse is, well, they've just dropped down in the next 10 games. Not the last 10 games.
Well,
but you, from an outsider, you just go, well, he's only hitting 267. Well,
I said 7 homers and 67 strikeouts.
10 games ago he was hitting 300. So he's having a bad stretch now, but
okay.
It's just
your
little comparisons are only based on watching a full season of one team and going, well, what's this guy hitting? Well,
I can't watch the Sox.
Well,
they're boring.
I'm just saying, well, yeah,
and even you would say they're boring because they're not scoring runs.
Wrigley Field's the worst stadium in Major League Baseball, by the way.
Best stadium in Major League Baseball. Oh, it's awesome.
It should be condemned.
Why?
It's a pit.
We have video boards now.
It's a pit.
No, they fixed it up. It's going to be nice. You'll see.
Right. Great.
No, you'll see.
It's a pit.
Low.
Get a bathroom.
All right, we're going to take one more break and wrap it up. You're listening to Dart Talk, Talking Baseball, and we'll be right back.
Oh, I know what happened. I figured it out.
Awesome.
Administration and behavior.
Okay, back for the fourth inning. Last inning. Extra innings. Dart
Extra
talk.
inning. Cubs are an extra inning.
Dart. I can barely even say this. Dart talk. Talking baseball. It sounds redundant.
Yeah.
Baseball with dart talk. I don't know.
Baseball talk on Dart Talk. I don't know.
Dart talk will be back next
Nothing
week
works.
talking about darts the way we're supposed to. And looks like it's final. Cubs 2, Mets nothing.
All right.
Woohoo.
2 shutouts in a row.
Talk about a team that can't hit. I mean, the pitching is like.
Who is their closer now, though?
Well, herere's the thing.
Mott pitched yesterday. You just said Mott
Mott
wasn't
got the
in
save.
today.
Yeah, well, yeah, he did.
And who
he
was
pitched
it? Was it Strope? No,
Uh,
I mean, who was their closer?
today.
Not Strope, but
Rondon.
Rondon.
Yeah.
Is he hurt or?
No, what Madden has decided to do is play matchups with the bullpen based on, which hitters are coming up.
Oh, okay.
So, Madden's thinking what is actually, makes sense, on the surface, where it's like, well, look, if their 3, 4, and 5 hitters are coming up in the 8th, why save your best reliever for the 9th? Have him pitch the tough hitters,
Right.
and match up like that. It's going to be interesting to see if the bullpen buys into it, because what you're basically doing is you're killing a guy's end of the year numbers.
Right. Sure.
Right now, if you trust management to reward you based on what your actual production is, then everything should be fine.
Right.
But if you're like,
and they do have the hold stat now, and
they do
other things that would go along with that.
You can certainly track the metrics, but if you're a guy who's in the last year of his contract, don't you want to be, get 50 saves and have an ERA under 1 so you can get paid? What do they give Robertson, like $50 million for like 3 years or 4 years or something like that? I mean, so it's going to be interesting to see how the relievers work it. But if they buy into it, I think it'd be a really effective way where everyone's a closer, right? Then good.
Yeah,
I have
agree with that
guys,
because they say the last 3 outs are the hardest outs to get in baseball, but it's the same. If you're the 8th inning guy, those are the 3 hardest outs for you to get.
They're all
so what
hard.
difference does it make if you do it in the 9th or the 8th
you're winning 1-0. It's the bottom of the 8th, and their 3, 4, 5 guys are coming up, and you're going to put in your second best guy,
right?
Okay, I mean, so the guy that he's really been matching up most against the 3, 4, 5 guys is Strope. And Rondon was doing fine, and all of a sudden he kind of lost it. And I don't know if there's a health issue or something. I mean, for me, when I look at pitchers, if they can't throw strikes, they can't be in there, right? And
sure.
I watched Rondon throw like 17 strikes in 19 pitches in April. All of a sudden he's walking people. It's like, okay, something you're going to have to straighten that out somewhere else, right? You can't straighten it out in the middle of a game. So that was kind of interesting. But we got the Cubs Sox series is coming up, and you guarantee how many wins in Wrigley for your boys?
I don't guarantee anything.
You think they'll win a game? Think they'll win when Sale pitches?
Well, I would have to look at the pitching matchups, but I mean, Cubs can't.
Let's
here, how
for
about
the sake
this?
of argument, let's
the
match
Sox will
up.
win 2 out of 3. How about that?
All right, who's your number 3 starter? Quintana?
Yeah.
So if we go Sale and Lester, Samardzija and Arrieta, and then Quintana against Jason Hamill, you're going to win 2 out of 3. You confident with that?
Sure have a chance, yeah.
You think? So your top 3 pitchers, you feel like
I
give
would
you a
get,
chance to win?
I mean, just given that matchup, I would say, obviously, that I would think Sale and Quintana are going to be the games that they win.
Okay.
Arrieta is the best pitcher on the Cubs.
Yeah, he has been. He has been this year. And, Lester threw a shutout today. Does it count if you throw it against the Mets? I mean, I don't know.
Not really. Well, I mean,
we've shut them out 2 games in a row.
They're still major league hitters. So,
of
course it counts, but they're struggling to score runs, too. I mean,
Well, they're
I mean,
expected
Bartolo
to
Colon
struggle.
just threw a shutout against the Cubs.
Well,
so,
again, see, that's the thing.
know.
The Cubs are not expected to, score 0 runs every game.
Right.
The Mets, I don't know what the expectations are, but they're not known as a good hitting team. You guys were a good hitting team last year, and I rip on the Sox all the time, but I am mystified by the.
I don't really know how good of a hitting team they were last year.
It just seemed every time I looked, they were losing 8-6. If
Yeah.
you score 6 runs, you're a good hitting
Their
team.
bullpen was brutal, but
Yeah, you know what I mean. It's kind of a weird. It's a weird turnaround. And what I was trying to say before is, you've got teams that are obviously rebuilding. You've got teams that are obviously aging, right? But the Sox aren't like that. I don't see any identity to this team as far as like what are they? Are they contenders? No. Especially that, you're in a very difficult division, and everybody. Remember the projections I showed you from like StatGraph or something, where the Royals were supposed to be 9 games under 500 at the end of the year after winning the pennant and losing the World Series in a close one.
right.
I was like, based on what? Based on sheer numbers is like, you got to be kidding me. And then we had projections. They projected the Cubs to be what? Like just a couple games over 500
so.
and the Sox to be 1 or 2 under or something
yeah,
like that.
maybe, I think
But right around
Sox
there.
might have been like 6 or 7 games under or something like that. But yeah, they weren't projecting either one of them to.
Well, let's talk trades. Let's talk potential trades, and then we'll wrap it up. I had a guy sitting, never saw him before. Our season tickets are next to other season ticket holders, and the guy that usually sits there, we chat a little bit, but he had given his tickets to these other guys, and this guy wanted to talk the whole game about all sorts of things. And one of the things he wanted to talk about was, should the Cubs trade this guy? Should the Cubs trade this guy? Would the White Sox trade Chris Sale to the Cubs or anyone to the Cubs? I think the thinking there is like, well, the White Sox would never do anything to help the Cubs. But you don't make trades to help the other team. You make trades to help your own team.
Yeah, I can't imagine they would even care about that.
What would you take for Sale?
Nothing.
For Chris Sale? You would not trade him under any circumstances. You've got a team that's 10-9, 8 games under 500, and has been pretty bad all year, like kind of from day one. You don't want to fire the manager. What assets do you have that you can trade to help the team? I don't know what you would want.
What are you going to trade Chris Sale? I want Chris Sale because he's a guy that wants to pitch for this team and wants to go out there and compete. He's young.
He tied some record for consecutive games with
10 strikeouts.
Do you find that a meaningful record?
Well,
I
don't know how meaningful it is, other than the fact that there's only been one other person that's ever done it in the whole history of baseball, and it was Pedro Martinez. So, I mean, even Bob Gibson didn't do it, or, whatever, Sandy Koufax, any of those
But if
guys.
they pitched this month, would they?
Well, who knows?
Gibson was pretty good.
Yeah. I mean,
you look
Randy
at the numbers.
Johnson never did it. I mean, Nolan Ryan never did it. I mean, you're talking about your career strikeout leaders that did it all. I mean,
it's
so
exceedingly
I guess
rare.
It's one of those you go, hey, good job, man, pat on the back. But you know what? I don't think Chris Sale cares. I don't think Pedro Martinez would have cared if they lost the game. I mean, yeah, it's one of those, hey.
Well, you could look back on it, and if he strikes out 10 or 12 the next game and he breaks Pedro's record,
right.
I mean, that would be something, right?
Sure. But I don't think it matters to him. He wants to win. But anyway, my point being is I don't think Chris Sale is the future of your team. He's young enough where he's got a lot of good years left to pitch, and
fantastic contract.
I don't know. Yeah, and plus that, I don't know who I would want in order to, who are you going to put on the team that is going to be successful for the next 4 or 5 years?
Well,
almost guaranteed.
We were also discussing whether or not they would trade Samardzija.
Well, he's a free agent after this year.
Yeah, right.
They don't have to trade him. Well, I mean,
do you want something for him, or do you want to keep him?
I don't know what they're going to get for him, but
the longer you wait, the less you get.
I can see them trading him for sure.
What would you take for Samardzija? We traded him with 1.5 years left, and we got Addison Russell.
Right.
And we also traded Hamill And we got Billy McKinney.
It's hard to say what you'd take for him because
what do you need?
The guy isn't pitching.
Well,
that
what do you
well.
need? What's the biggest need the White Sox have?
Catcher.
Well, you're not. Well, how about Miguel Montero?
No.
Why do you hate that guy?
He's not that good. I don't hate him. He's just not that good.
Well, who do you got
He's
that's
average.
that good?
I'm not saying we do. He's just, I mean.
He's a 2-time All-Star.
Yeah.
He's got some game-winning homers this year.
I'm not saying he's awful.
You wouldn't want him. You don't think he'd be an upgrade on Tyler Flowers?
No. I don't think he's any better.
Well, okay. Now you have like a horrible second baseman. You got some kid that can't hit, you said?
Yeah.
Willie Mays Hayes.
He's been playing for a month and a half. I mean,
okay.
Right now he can't hit.
What if I said you could
I'm
have...
not saying he won't hit.
Okay.
Right now he can't. He's 2 months into month and a half into the season, and he hasn't figured out Major League hitting yet. But
what if I said you could have Arismendi Alcantara for Jeff Samardzija? Well, he's got too many letters in his name. Why don't you like him?
Yeah. I didn't like him. He's got a big swing, and I didn't like him when he was with the Cubs last year.
You don't think he's going to major league guy? What about one of the top prospects that everyone talks about, like, say, Billy McKinney, who was in the Samardzija deal when we traded?
I mean, I would definitely take
Oakland.
a top prospect just because of the sheer aspect of the fact that the Sox probably won't re-sign Samardzija. Granted, top prospects don't always pan out, but they do need a minor league system. They need help in the minor league system. So if they were going to get a top prospect, I would take it.
You think the Sox, Samardzija won't sign with them because the Sox wouldn't pay him, or that he wouldn't want to sign with the Sox?
I don't know.
Like money being equal.
Probably. I don't know. It's hard to say. My guess would be he doesn't want to. I don't know. Maybe he wants to be back in the National League. Who knows? Who am I to say? I don't know.
I mean, I would think the guy wants to be with a winning team.
Maybe he wants to be back on the. So who knows? But who knows what's going to be offered out there? I mean, all money being equal.
All the indications are he's going to get $100 million.
Right. All money being equal, if the Sox are going to pay it, or if the Toronto Blue Jays are going to pay it, and that might be the pitcher they need to get over the hump, he might go there. If the Cubs are going to pay him, then
you think Samardzija's that good? He's had some bad games for you, I know, this year. He pitched a good one up to the end last time.
I mean,
he strikes me as a guy that can only win with his good stuff, and when he doesn't have his good stuff, he gets rocked.
I mean, it's weird because last year for the Cubs he pitched so well, but they couldn't hit every time he pitched. I mean, he had like under 2 ERA, and he was 1-6.
Yeah.
So that
was a terrible team.
And the difference this year is he's not pitching that well. And I don't want to equate it National League, American League, but he's just not pitching as well as he did last year, and he's playing for a team that can't score any runs again. So I don't know. I
maybe
can't
he's just a jinx.
Tell you what Samardzija is going to do, but if the club thinks they're not going to re-sign him, especially for the money that they can see other teams offering,
he's going to get like $100 million for 5 years or something like that.
You might as well trade him. I mean,
would you pay him that much?
I wouldn't, because if Rondon is going to be that good, hopefully, who knows after 2 months of the season.
Assuming you cross your fingers, you hope he stays healthy
right now. But if Rondon's going to be that way, I'd rather. Granted, they have no other pitchers after that. I mean, Quintana's. Quintana.
What happened in Nuese? He looked good last year.
Awful.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's brutal. He was
Awesome.
brutal last year when they picked him up.
Pitched good against the Cubs, but we were so bad last year.
No, I mean, I guess do you sign Samardzija for that amount of money and you have no chance of winning next year, or do you save that money and eventually, you're going to pay Sale and Rondon and try and get other pitchers?
Well, you've got Sale and Rondon under club control for quite a while.
They drafted this guy out of Vanderbilt who's really good.
Oh, he won Game 1 of the World Series, and then they dropped 2 in a row and lost to Virginia?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the college pitchers, the only thing about them is I wonder how healthy they're going to be. We did really good with Mark Pryor coming out of USC.
Sure.
And he didn't spend much time in the minors, and boom, he was up there, and everything was fine. And, his injuries didn't come from pitching. He never recovered from the, collision with the second baseman. messed up his shoulder. So obviously you hope that doesn't
also
happen.
rumors
but
about him too.
yeah, well, the rumors about a lot of guys back
Well,
then.
sure.
Who knows?
But some of those rumors
Yeah, well, Soto.
create injuries.
I remember Steve Stone saying about Giovanni Soto. How does a kid in the minors go from like 1 home run a season to 30?
Mm-hmm.
How'd that happen?
Yeah. So who knows? But I mean, I agree with you. But I mean, so far right now, the Sox have had success with these college pitchers, and
some of them have done good.
But
I mean,
I
it's
wouldn't-
kind of a crapshoot with some of these guys. I mean, Schwarber's our leading hitter.
the
and
thing
he was up
is,
for a week.
right?
Guys
The thing
never faced Major
like,
League pitching.
who do you trade? Obviously the Cubs aren't trading anybody
No,
on their
the
roster.
no, the Cubs.
But,
the Cubs are willing to
if you trade Alexi
non-core.
Ramirez,
They'll trade a non-core player
Mhm.
for pitching. And I was trying to explain to this guy. We traded Andrew Kashner to the Padres for Anthony Rizzo.
Mhm.
Rizzo had done nothing for the Padres.
Right.
Kashner had, shown a major league arm, but was raw. And that's the kind of trade that I like. You get a position player for a pitcher.
Right.
The other way around, I don't think so. So, you're going to – I don't know if the Cubs renting Samardzija, we would rent him. I think we would probably rent him for the rest of the season if it didn't cost us a core player like
that's right.
like Javi Baez or
Sure.
Kyle Schwarber. And the thing that you were ripping on Baez, and I know he looked terrible. In September last year, he had raised his OPS to almost 1,000 in Iowa, working on his plate discipline.
I don't care.
And, well, it's important that you don't strike out
yes,
5
it
times
is.
a game.
And those, but I mean,
I know they're not major league pitchers
here's
down
my
there.
point. I don't care because you still have to come up to the major leagues and prove you can do it.
Right.
And I'm not going to sit there and look at somebody's minor league stats and get all excited about it because it really doesn't matter because you still have to come up to the majors and do it. And I don't care how well you're hitting the ball in the minor leagues. I don't care if you're hitting 220 because sometimes all of a sudden somebody gets injured and you get a chance to do it. And
we had this
you
argument.
become one of the guys that hits had 10 home runs in their first 20 games, and then you never hear from him.
You were doing this killjoy stuff at the beginning of the season when Chris Bryant led the minors in homers. You were like, he led spring training in homers, and you were like, it's just such a big so what? Nobody cares. It's spring training. They're going through the motions, and I'm like, it's an indication that the guy's ready to play. And you're like, well, he's been all right.
I never said I don't like Chris Bryant.
I know
never
that.
said he wasn't a Major League Baseball player. The hype is over the top.
Yeah, but I don't buy into the hype.
ridiculous.
You look at the guy. Did
I'm
he or
not
did he
talking
not
about
lead
just
the
you.
spring training in
the
homers?
hype everywhere.
So it's
everybody.
just this
Oh my
general
God!
annoyance with
Yes.
yeah. Now
Let
if he
the
was
guy play in the major leagues first before you get excited about it. Yes.
If he was
Does
coming
have
up,
Major League, does he have Major League Baseball potential? Absolutely. Does Joey Gallo have Major League Baseball potential? Absolutely, but he's come up. Buxton from Minnesota, he's only hit 220.
I am not impressed with that guy at all.
But the hype, I don't care about the hype. Come up,
Don't believe the
hit
hype.
the ball. Do what you got to do.
It just seems to me your attitude would be different if he was coming up the White Sox system.
No.
That Chris
It
Bryant,
would
you'd
not.
be
It would not.
okay.
I wanted to.
I'm not saying buy into the hype, but you can believe what you see in front of your face.
I don't care about stats. Hit the ball. Do it when you're supposed to. I don't care if you hit 300. If you hit 250, you could be a better baseball player than somebody hits at 300.
I'm not saying that you should rely on stats, because they're just like a snapshot. But when you track stats and you see improvements in certain areas, that should make you happy. When you see declining numbers, that should make you sad. Okay? You don't just look at one day and say this guy's hitting 253, therefore he's a 253 hitter for the rest of his life.
Right.
It obviously doesn't work that way. I asked you about Cabrera, and his career stats, he's close to a 300 hitter, and this year he's hitting like 250.
Right.
Well, he's underperforming.
Sure.
That's where stats come in handy. It's a way to characterize kind of what's going on with some of these guys. But when you're leading the spring training players in home runs, that's a big deal.
No, it's not. Not to me. The only reason, if he
hasn't hit that many homers this year.
Just name if Dexter Fowler was leading the minor leagues,
Bass and Clyde.
if the Dexter Fowler was leading the minor leagues in home runs, would it be a big deal?
No.
Okay, it was Chris Bryant, who everybody wants on the major league club. It just added to fuel to the fire of why is this guy not going to start?
Well, okay, his agent hyped that because of the extra year of eligibility and all that stuff.
That's all fine, but you just admitted that it's not a big deal if somebody else did it. It was a big deal because Chris Bryant was doing it, and that's the hype. That's the bandwagon I don't jump on because I know he's going to be in the major leagues.
All the prospects are getting hyped more than they used to.
I just know I knew he was going to be on the big league team, and he's got to perform once he gets there. So I don't care if he had a home run every time up in the minor leagues. It didn't matter. He still wasn't starting the year on the major league club, so it didn't matter what he was doing in the minors, and everybody was blowing it out of proportion. So I didn't care
at all.
No,
see, they drove you away
because you knew
all that noise just drove you away.
You knew he was going to be on the team.
I wanted him on the team in spring training because I wanted the best 25 guys there. I understood that they wanted an extra year of eligibility. I was so happy we had a rain out with the Cardinals because then it was just one extra game that we'd have him for. Right. So I was like, let's move on.
I don't get involved in.
And when they brought up Addison Russell, I was like, okay, well, that kind of shows everybody that, they're trying to win. Mm-hmm. I'm so glad I have a team that's now trying to win because last year they weren't. They didn't care.
No.
It was almost like, that's why they let Javi Baez just swing at strikes until, he went away. Strikeouts. They didn't even sit him. They're like, go out there. Our two best guys got hurt last year. They didn't play in September. The team was a mess. And you look at how they've turned it around and who they brought in, and then they bring in Joe Madden, who's like, I don't know, he's like a cross between Spencer Tracy and Kurt Vonnegut.
Right.
I mean, I love the guy.
Well, I like the guy too.
So, I'm excited. I'm so excited. I was like, let's talk some baseball tonight. Was it good for you?
It was fine. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks to everybody in the chat room. We'll be back next week doing darts. We'll be back on darts next week. But I wanted to try this and see how it went. So if you got any comments, you can email darttalk@gmail.com. I'd be happy to read them. And then we'll just wrap it up for tonight. Sorry we went long, but hope you found it entertaining. Anyway, we will Dart Talk to you next week. Everybody take care.